Hello,
Olá,
everyone.
pessoal.
Hello, everybody
Olá a
that
todos que me
follows me and
seguem, que
practices
praticam
the
os
teachings of
ensinamentos
the
de hoje,
great
mestre
enlightened
iluminado.
masters. I
Eu já
have been
fazia esse
doing
trabalho
this
há
work for
25 anos
25 years
comigo
with
e
me and publicly.
publicamente.
Recently, I taught the
Recentemente eu
mantra
passei
of the absolute
mantra
love of
do
the
amor absoluto do
uncreated.
Incriado.
I
Eu
am
sou
the
o amor
absolute love
absoluto do
of the
Incriado.
uncreated.
O
What
que
can
esse
this
mantra pode
mantra do?
fazer? O que ele tem
What does
feito?
humanity need
O
right
que
now?
a humanidade
All
precisa
of
nesse
God's plans for
momento?
healing the world were
Então, todos
made,
os planos
but
de Deus para a
humanity
cura do mundo
rejected
foram
them.
feitos, a
All
humanidade
light
rejeitou.
beings, avatars, great
Todos os
masters,
seres de luz, os
archangels,
avatares, os
gods,
grandes
huge
mestres,
entities
arcanjos,
like the
deuses,
Christ have
entidades
blessed the
imensas
world,
como
but we've
Cristo,
been rejecting them
abençoam
all
o
the
mundo
time.
e a gente
We cannot
rejeita o tempo
understand
todo.
them
A gente não
due
consegue
to the size of
compreender
our
devido
illusion.
ao tamanho da
Our
nossa
illusion is
ilusão.
covered by a
A
lot of
nossa
suffering,
ilusão, ela está
shadows,
revestida
cruelty,
com
a
muito
lot of evil,
sofrimento, muitas
which makes it
sombras, muita
harder to
crueldade,
feel
muita
God, to
maldade,
feel the
o que
uncreated,
torna mais
to feel the absolute
intransponível
love.
sentir
So,
Deus,
this
sentir o
mantra
Incriado,
came to
sentir o amor
remove the
absoluto.
thick shell that we've
Então esse
created
mantra
in
veio
our
para
human mind.
romper essa
This mantra
casca
has many
grossa que a
meanings.
gente criou em
When you
nossa
say, I
mente
am the
humana.
absolute love of
Esse
the
mantra,
uncreated,
ele
you
tem muitos
say that you are the
significados. Quando
origin,
você
that you
afirma,
are
eu sou o
where
amor
everything
absoluto
was
do
born,
Incriado,
even where
você
God
afirma
was
que
born,
você é a
because the
origem, que
uncreated is the
você
first
é de
existence.
onde tudo
It's
nasce,
beyond
até de onde
creation,
Deus
beyond
nasceu,
the
porque o
Creator.
Incriado
It's
é
above
a
all
primeira
because it's the
existência,
emptiness
é
filled with
além da
love,
criação, é
which is an
além do
invisible
Criador,
feeling
é
that
antes de
touches
tudo.
our
E
hearts.
por que ele é antes de tudo?
Because it's
Porque ele
this
é o
emptiness
vazio
filled with love. It's not
preenchido
a
de
being
amor,
and does
é um
not need to be
sentimento
created.
invisível, mas
The
que toca nossos
emptiness does
corações.
not need to be
Por ele ser
created.
esse
It's the
vazio preenchido de
origin
amor e
of
não um
everything.
ser, ele
For
não
a
precisa
creation
ser
to be
criado, porque
born,
ele é
the
vazio.
origin of
O vazio não
everything
precisa ser
must be
criado,
love.
ele é a
That's why
origem
the
de tudo.
emptiness is called
Então, a origem de
uncreated
tudo,
or
para ter
Brahma.
nascido uma
Love is
criação, precisa ser
absolute.
amor.
It's the
Por isso
origin
que o
that
vazio é
contains
amor.
all
Então,
things.
por isso que o vazio é
It's a
chamado de
beautiful thing.
uncriado, ou de
Love
Brahman,
turns into
ou
life.
de amor
It's not life that
absoluto.
turns
É
into
aquele que
love.
é a
It's
origem
love
que
that
contém
becomes
todas as
life.
coisas.
That's
Então,
why
olha que
it is
coisa mais
said
linda. O
that God
amor
is
se
love,
transforma em
because
vida.
consciousness is
Não é a
born
vida que se
or
transforma em
emanates
amor,
from
é
the
o amor que se
uncreated
transforma
or
em vida.
love. This
Então,
absolute love
vamos
releases
continuar.
energy, which is
Então, por
used by
isso
God
que
as
Deus
raw
é amor.
material to
Meu tio
create the
óculos, eu
universes.
preciso dele porque eu
So,
vou ler
energy
mensagem do WhatsApp
emanates
que está
from love.
gravado no meu
Consciousness
privado, que depois
emanates
eu
from
torno
love.
público.
When we say that God is a
Então,
frequency,
por
in
isso que se diz
fact,
que Deus
it's
é
the
amor,
love that emanates a
porque a
frequency.
consciência
This frequency
nasce
is
ou
energy,
emana
and this
do
energy
Incriado,
is the
do
raw
amor.
material of our body, of the
E esse amor
universes.
absoluto,
It's the raw
ele
material that the Creator
liberta
uses for His
energia,
creation,
que é a
and
matéria-prima
in
da
His
criação que
creation,
Deus
He
usa
uses His
para criar
cosmic
os
mind
universos.
to shape
Então,
what
do
He
amor
wants
emana
according to His
energia,
will and to
emana
His needs.
consciência.
But does God
Então,
have
se diz que
needs?
Deus é uma
Yes, it is an
frequência,
expression
na
of love,
verdade,
and
ele é
love
o
by nature
amor
is
que
creative.
emana uma
God's
frequência.
needs
Essa
is to
frequência é
create and
energia,
expand.
e essa energia é a
Where?
matéria-prima
In the
do nosso
infinite and
corpo,
eternal
dos
emptiness
universos,
from
é a
which it
matéria-prima que o
emanated.
Criador usa
God
para
was
a sua
not created
criação,
because
e sua
there is no other
criação ele
being to
usa
create it.
sua
It
mente
emanated. It's
cósmica para
spontaneous.
moldar
The
o que ele
love of
quer
the
de acordo com a sua
uncreated becomes
vontade e com a
consciousness
sua
in a spontaneous
necessidade.
natural
Mas Deus
process.
tem
And
necessidade,
when did
sim.
this happen?
Ele é uma
In
expressão
eternity.
do amor e o
Since
amor
when the
é natureza
uncreated
criador.
started its
Então a
manifestation
necessidade
in
de Deus de
eternity,
criar e
it
se
started the
expandir.
process of
Aonde?
formation of the
No vazio
cosmic
infinito e
consciousness
eterno,
that we
onde ele
call God.
emanou.
The
Deus não
cosmic
foi
consciousness,
criado,
the
porque não
one.
existe
So
outro ser
it
para
happened in
criá-lo.
eternal
Ele
time. That's
emanou,
why it is
é
said that God is
espontâneo.
eternal.
O
But it
amor do incriado
emanated
se
from the
transforma em
uncreated.
consciência, num
At some
processo
point in time,
natural,
it
espontâneo.
emanated.
E
But
quando isso
when?
aconteceu?
In
Na
eternity. God is
eternidade.
eternal,
Desde
and the
quando o
uncreated
incriado
is also
iniciou sua
eternal.
manifestação na
It's
eternidade,
difficult to understand
iniciou
it
o
when we have
processo
our
de
thoughts
formação da
focused on
consciência
the material
cósmica, que a
world,
gente chama de Deus,
focused on the
consciência
subjects of
cósmica,
the concrete human
unidade,
mind that is
iluminação.
illusory.
Então isso
Why is the
aconteceu
human mind
num
illusory?
tempo
Because it
eterno. Por isso que
stops
se diz que
existing when we
Deus é
return to
eterno,
light.
mas ele emanou
When we
muito
are
light. Então, em
enlightened in
algum
this
momento,
world,
ele emanou.
the illusory
Quando? Na
mind stops
eternidade.
existing.
Então,
The
Deus é
human
eterno, o Criador é
personality is
eterno.
dissolved. It's a dream
É
of our
difícil
divine
compreender quando a gente
consciousness.
tem o pensamento
And why
focado
is
só
it
na coisa
dissolved?
material, na
Because it's
coisa
a dream.
concreta, no
It's not
assunto da
real.
mente
It will
concreta humana,
end.
que é
Why
ilusória.
will it end?
Por que a mente humana é
Because it isn't
ilusória?
real. So
Porque ela deixa de
everything that is
existir quando a
eternal
gente
is
volta para a
real.
luz.
And
Quando a
what
gente
is
se
eternal?
ilumina nesse mundo, a
Only
mente ilusória deixa
consciousness.
de existir.
And
A
it's
personalidade
immaterial.
humana
If
é
you watch this video
dissolvida,
that I'm
ela é um
recording
sonho
now,
da
it's a
nossa
summary
consciência
of my
divina.
25
E
years
por que
teaching
ela é dissolvida?
meditation,
Porque era um
teaching the
sonho,
wisdom of
ela
the
não é
enlightened
real, ela vai
ones,
acabar.
teaching
Por
that
que vai
only the
acabar?
enlightened
Porque
ones
não é
have the
real.
key to
Então,
the
tudo
door
que é
to the
eterno,
exit of illusion and
tudo que é
suffering.
eterno é real.
And
E
why
o que
don't
que
we
é
follow the
eterno?
enlightened
Somente a
ones?
consciência.
Because we
Ela
are
é
immature,
imaterial.
spiritually speaking.
Se vocês
Our human
observarem esse vídeo que
personality
eu estou
is
fazendo agora, é um
immature.
resumo
It
de
doesn't
dois,
understand the
25
truth.
anos
God sent
ensinando
Krishna, Buddha,
meditação, ensinando a
Jesus,
sabedoria
saints,
dos
incarnated
iluminados,
angels,
ensinando
enlightened
que
masters,
só os
but we don't
iluminados têm a
understand
chave da
that they
porta
have the key
para
to
a saída
enlightenment,
da
to
ilusão
the
e
exit,
sofrimento.
and to real
E por
wisdom.
que a gente não
We
segue
don't
os
practice
iluminados?
their teachings.
Porque a
We
gente é
practice the teachings of
imaturo
other
espiritualmente
unenlightened
falando. A
people,
nossa
and we
personalidade
walk in
humana ela é
circles.
imatura.
And
Ela
the
não
circle
compreende a
brings
verdade, ela não
suffering because
entende.
it's
Deus manda
illusory.
Krishna, Buda, Jesus,
So,
santos, anjos
everything in this
encarnados,
world is a
iluminados,
mental
mestres,
creation.
e a gente não
If it's a
compreende
mental
que eles
creation,
contêm a
it's
chave
because
da
it had a
iluminação, da
beginning, an
saída e da
origin.
sabedoria
It was
real.
created.
E aí a gente
And
não
if
pratica os
it's made of
ensinamentos deles para
energy and
praticar ensinamentos
consciousness
de
that
outras
inhabits
pessoas
this
não
energy,
iluminadas, e a gente
which
fica
is the
andando em
body,
círculos.
when we
E
die,
o
this
círculo traz
energy will be
sofrimento porque é
changed.
ilusório.
My
Tudo
body
que
will
nesse mundo
return
aqui
to the
é uma
dust, to the
criação
earth, to this
mental. Se é
planet.
uma criação
Because if
mental, é
everyone who
porque
was
ela
born
teve um
here would
início,
take his
uma
body
origem,
with
ela foi
him, there
criada.
wouldn't
E
be
se ela é
any
feita
planet
de
left,
energia
right? Because
e
we would take part
consciência
of
que
the
habita nessa
energy from
energia,
the
que é o
planet.
corpo, e
Actually,
essa
the
energia
energy
que
of
vai
the
ser me
planet
dada, o
remains
meu
here,
corpo vai
and we
voltar para o
take
pó,
our
para a
energy
Terra, para
from
esse
our
planeta,
consciousness
porque se
that is
todo mundo que
immaterial
nasce aqui
with us.
levasse um corpo,
Why
dia
does
esse
a
planeta ia deixar
consciousness
de
have
existir, não é?
energy?
Porque a gente ia levar uma
Because
parte da
without
energia dele.
energy, it
Então a
cannot
energia do
express
mundo
itself.
fica. Aí a
Let's
nossa energia da
suppose I have
consciência,
no
que é
energy
imaterial,
and I
ela
have
também
no
tem
body.
energia.
I am
Por que que uma
immaterial.
consciência tem
I am
energia?
just like the
Porque
air,
sem
a lot of
energia
air
ela não
talking
consegue
to
se
you.
expressar.
How
Vamos
would we
supor,
see
eu não tenho energia, eu não
ourselves
tenho
in this
corpo.
world
Eu sou
where we need physical
imaterial. Eu
eyes,
sou
we need
igual ao ar, uma
hearing,
porção de
smell,
ar
taste?
conversando com vocês,
How
uma
would you
porção de
see
ar.
me?
Como é que a gente
That's
ia
why
se ver
consciousness
nesse
needs
mundo que
energy to
precisa ter
manifest.
olhos
That's
físicos,
why
precisa ter
our body
audição,
in this world is
olfato,
physical, because
paladar? Como
here
é
is
que
the
vocês iam me
physical
ver?
world, and
Então,
our
a
body in
consciência precisa
heaven
de
is a body of light, because in
energia para se
heaven we are beings
manifestar.
of light.
Por isso que o nosso corpo
But
nesse mundo
what
ele é
about
físico, porque
heaven?
aqui é um
Who
mundo
is
físico. Por
God?
isso que o
And
nosso corpo no
what
céu
beings of
é um
light are
corpo
we?
de
And
luz,
who are
porque
we
no céu
here
nós
in
somos
this
seres
world?
de luz.
God is
Tá,
the only
mas e no
consciousness
céu? Quem é
that
Deus e quem que
emanated from
nós
the
somos seres de
uncreated.
luz? E quem nós
So,
somos aqui nesse
due to
mundo?
his
E quem é Deus
huge
aqui nesse
love,
mundo?
it's the
Deus é a
absolute
única
donator,
consciência
because
que
love is
emanou do
creator
incriado.
and
Então,
donator.
ele, por ter esse
God
amor
created the
nele
cosmos,
absoluto,
our
doador,
cosmic
porque o amor é
home,
criador e
billions of
doador,
stars,
ele
planets,
criou o
solar
cosmos,
systems,
o nosso
galaxies,
lar cósmico,
universes, and it
bilhões, zilhões de
expands
estrelas,
more and
planetas,
more.
sistemas solares,
Why?
galáxias,
Because the
universos,
space is
e ele se
infinite.
expande cada
The
vez mais. Por quê?
uncreated is
Porque o
infinite.
espaço é infinito, o incriado é
The
infinito.
more God
Por mais que
expands,
Deus se
the more it will
expanda,
have to
ele vai ter que se
expand.
expandir
It will have to expand
eternamente para
forever to
colonizar o espaço
colonize
infinito e
infinite space,
nunca
and it
vai
will never
conseguir
be able
terminar
to
essa
finish
obra.
this work. This is absolutely
Isso é
beautiful and poetic.
absolutamente lindo e
And how
poético.
is God
E como
going
que Deus
to
vai se
expand
expandir
so much
através de
through
nós? Por isso que Ele nos
us?
criou.
That's
Nós somos
why
uma
God
porção do
created
amor
us.
absoluto de
We
Deus,
are a portion
que
of the
veio do
absolute love of
Incriado.
God
Então nós
that
somos
came
uma
from the
porção criadora
uncreated.
de
So
vida.
we are a
Nós somos seres
creative
que criam
portion of
sistemas
life.
solares,
We
galáxias e
are
universos.
beings
Um
that
Deus e um
create solar
Incriado. Um
systems,
espaço do
galaxies,
Incriado dentro da
universes
consciência
in
de
God
Deus.
and in the
Porque Deus
uncreated.
é o
In
regente
the
de
space of the
todas
uncreated,
as
within the
coisas criadas,
consciousness of God,
inclusive dos
because
seres que Ele
God is
cria
the
para
ruler of all
criar
created
com
things,
Ele e
including the beings
co-criar
that He
e para
creates
reger
to
com Ele
create with
essa
Him. That is to
obra-prima
say,
que é a
to
criação.
co-create and
Então a
to rule
criação é uma
with Him
obra-prima. Se
His
você olhar a
masterpiece,
criação, ela é
that is
feita de
creation.
matéria-prima do Incriado,
Creation
da
is a
energia
masterpiece. If you
emanada
look
do
at
amor
creation,
absoluto,
it's made of
do
raw
amor.
material from the
Deus move
uncreated,
essa
from the
energia
energy
em
emanating from the
matéria
absolute
para
love,
criar
which
tudo.
is the
Olha que
donator
coisa
of
mais linda.
energy.
Então nós
God
somos, eu
shapes
sempre falo,
this
nós somos
energy into
versos de
matter
Deus.
to create
Porque Deus coloca em
everything.
cada pessoa um
It's so
verso, um
beautiful.
som,
We are
uma coisa
verses of God
única, uma
because
identidade
God
única que não
puts in
existe
each
igual. Por
person
isso que
a
cada um é
verse,
cada
a
um.
sound, a
Mas o que que
unique
aconteceu nesse
thing,
mundo?
a
Cada um é
unique
cada um
identity
e tem que
that
ser
does not
respeitado, só
exist
que
the
cada
same.
um é cada um, só para
That's why
achar que
each
aqui o
one
mundo está em
is each
colapso.
one. But what
Então Deus
happened
traçou o
in this
plano mais
world?
lindo de
Each one
todos,
is
que é o
each one
dele
and must be respected.
renascer nesse
But each
mundo,
one does
através
a
de
lot of
nós,
bad
através do
things, and
mantra
because of
Eu
that,
sou o
the
amor
world is
absoluto do
collapsing.
Incriado. Quando
Then
você faz esse
God
mantra, a
outlined the
profundidade da
most beautiful
informação
plan of all,
é a
the
maior que
plan of
existe em
being
todos os
reborn in
tempos.
this
É a
world
informação
through
de que você é
us,
um
through the
campo
mantra,
de amor
I
absoluto do
am the
Incriado, onde a
absolute
vida
love
pode
of the
nascer.
uncreated.
Porque só no
When you
Incriado a
do
vida
this
pode
mantra,
nascer.
the depth
Esse é um
of
assunto muito
information you
místico, muito
access is the greatest of
estudado
all
pelas grandes
ages. It's the
filosofias, pelas
information
entidades
that you are a
filosóficas e
field of
secretas e
absolute
espirituais,
love
que
of the
todos,
uncreated, where
só o
life can
Incriado
be
emana
born,
vida,
because
porque
only
só
in the
Ele é o doador
uncreated can life
total,
be born. This is a
original.
very mystical
Então Deus
subject,
pode doar
studied
vida
by
e
great
criar vida
philosophies,
somos nós.
philosophical and
Só
secret
que a nossa
spiritual
vida,
entities.
ela vai se
Only the
iluminando cada vez
uncreated
mais através de
emanates
todas as
life,
experiências universais
and
em planetas
it is the
evoluídos,
total and
estrelas
original
iluminadas, planetas
donator.
densos como esse.
So
A
God
gente vai se
can give
evoluindo
life and
até que
create
a
life.
gente alcança uma
It's
consciência de luz
us.
muito grande.
Our life
Chega uma hora que a
lights
nossa
up more and
personalidade humana
more
é
throughout
dissolvida
all
e a
universal
gente volta a
experiences
ser
that we
quem a gente
have in
foi
evolved
na hora da
planets,
criação de Deus.
illuminated
Luz,
stars,
consciência
dense
cósmica,
planets
amor.
like this one.
E
We
chega uma
keep
hora
on
que até essa
evolving
personalidade
until we
espiritual que a
reach
gente
a
tem
very
também
large
absorvida
light
por Deus e a gente volta a
consciousness.
ser
There comes a
o
time
próprio
when our
Deus.
human
Então a
personality is
iluminação é
dissolved
quando as
and we come back
histórias
to be
dos
who we
filhos de
were at
Deus,
the time of
criados
God's
por Deus,
creation.
para
Light,
coexistir
cosmic
neles, para
consciousness, love.
colonizar,
There comes a
cuidar,
time
criar
when
os
even the
reinos que
spiritual
chamamos de reino
personality
adâmico,
that we
reino que é,
have
que
is
deve,
also
plano. É
absorbed
a hora
by
que a gente
God.
retorna para a
We are God
consciência única que
again.
sempre
So,
fomos e de
enlightenment
onde
happens
saímos.
when the
Então, por
stories
isso que
of
se diz que a
God's
gente é
children,
eterno, porque na
created
verdade a
by
gente saiu
God,
de
to
Deus e um dia
coexist
volta
with
a
Him,
Deus.
to
A gente
colonize,
deixa de
to
dizer que
care
quando volta a
for,
Deus, não, a
to
gente volta a
create the
ser real.
kingdoms that I call the Adamic,
A gente não deixa
angelic,
de
and
existir, a
Davic
gente volta a ser
kingdoms.
quem nós
And
realmente somos.
it's the time
Então,
when we
enquanto a gente não
return
é
to the unique
Deus, o
consciousness
total,
that we
a
have
gente é uma
always been and
personalidade
from where we
espiritual criada
left.
por Deus
That's why
para
we say that we are
usufruir da
eternal,
criação
because in
dele. Isso é
fact we left
maravilhoso. Quem
God and
agradece
one
todo
day we will
dia a
return to
vida,
God.
agradece
Will
ter
we
sido
cease to
criado por
exist when we
Deus.
return to God?
Quem agradece
No,
ter sido
we
criado
will
por
be
Deus
real again.
entra na
We will not
sintonia de
cease to
Deus
exist.
e pode
We will be
senti-lo.
who we
Esse
really
mantra,
are.
quando você faz eu sou amor
While we
absoluto
are not
criado
total
de
God,
Deus,
we are a
eu sou um
spiritual
campo vazio de
personality
amor
created
absoluto
by God
entre
to
mim.
enjoy His
Usufrua
creation,
desse
and
campo,
this
dessa
is
minha entrega a
wonderful.
Ti absoluta.
Whoever
Entrega
thanks
absoluta é
every
quando a gente
day for
abdica do
life,
personagem
thanks for being
humano.
created
O
by God,
personagem humano é
gets in
ilusório, ele
tune
é
with God
lindo, ele é
and can feel
maravilhoso.
it When you say, I am the absolute love of the uncreated, you say, I am an empty field of absolute love. Enter me. Enjoy this field. Enjoy this absolute surrender for you. Absolute surrender happens when we abdicate the human character that is illusory. He is beautiful. He is wonderful. My human character goes to the beach, loves to eat with pleasure, loves the nature, loves the flowers, loves music, loves to talk about these matters. If I can talk, I talk to God. This information that we are the surrender opens a field for God to pulse, to activate Himself in ourselves, even before enlightenment. Then you can create a fusion between you and God. You have opened a field of absolute love. It's the highest field of existence that a living being can reach. This field of absolute love transcends enlightenment itself. Before enlightenment, you transcend enlightenment. This means that you have opened a new path never experienced by any human being before. Why are we living this absolute love only now? Because humanity takes a long time to get ready to receive information. Humanity only receives information when it's well prepared, but that does not mean that it will be assimilated. This mantra has recently been taken up by many people and they are loving to make the mantra. They are feeling the release. And what is this release about? It's the release of the mental field that we've created and that makes the veil that blocks the vertical connection with God. This mantra dissolves this veil very quickly because it's a field of surrender, and surrender is upwards. The hierarchy of God is like that. God is above all. This is really how it works. God is everywhere, but in hierarchy, God is above all. And then the archangels, gods, Christ, masters, avatars, beings of light, and us, embodied in this great illusion where nothing is what it seems to be. Nothing here is like that. In fact, when you enlighten, you see that none of this exists. We are human characters developing concrete human thoughts, human emotions, which are absolutely illusory in divine consciousness. When we get back to heaven, this is going to be a distant past that no one else will think about. Do you know why? Because it was a dream. Speaking of dreams, when a person has real dreams, it means that he is very aware, that he is working in this world with an awareness, even without knowing it. He does not need to know it. In fact, your awakened consciousness is at work in this world. So, he has real dreams. Dreams of real encounters, real conversations, real moments. And in those real moments of dreams, if he has more lucidity, he will know that he is dreaming. And if he knows he is dreaming, he can do beautiful things like levitate, float, and fly. I always wondered, where do children go when they dream? They continue to live the beautiful life that they have here in their dream. They continue to play with their friends because their consciousness is free and it's real here and there. So they continue in the flow of life until the day that they are taught on how to become a human being, a concrete mind, an emotional one full of dramas. And then they will have to learn how to heal themselves, how to purify themselves. That's why daily spiritual practices are fundamental, and the mantra will help you to open this field. But then your mind comes and goes, and the mantra comes and helps. That's why silencing is important to soften the concrete mind. meditation, thanking, reading, smiling, doing charity. We need to do all these practices to return to the Creator who lives inside of us. So, our human personality, our cosmic or spiritual personality, and God lives in us. The original emptiness is in everything, and we are inside of it. We are within the uncreated as creation co creators. When we become enlightened, we are within the uncreated as creation and creators. Actually, in enlightenment, even co creators cease to exist. You become the supreme God. You become the creator, and it's so beautiful that you become the creator in dimensions that have risen more and more. That's why Sai Baba says, I am God, but God is my guru. God is the top of the pyramid. The enlightened beings are in some dimension of the pyramid. Everything is a masterpiece because it's made of love, of the uncreated. And this mantra reveals this masterpiece for you. You want to create just as God creates because you have the creative love of the uncreated in you. And that is the highest love that a living being can achieve. There is nothing like it, and this is said by Krishna. The one who loves the uncreated above all things without attachment, I will absorb him in me. Avatar of Vishnu, cosmic consciousness, who lives in the supreme source, in the central sun, in the single consciousness. So, Krishna is the only consciousness in an infinitely beautiful dimension. But God is his guru. It's above because he is an avatar of Vishnu, and Vishnu is the first manifestation of the Trinity of God, which he uses as creator, preserver, and transformer. So you see, the whole story of all the sacred books can be summarized in a 20-minute video. You can work it out if you silence the mind, fill with love. You were born from the origin. You were born from the field of the infinite love. You have become a masterpiece of God, the highest consciousness that exists, the most beautiful, creative consciousness. It gave you the best. It did it because it can only do the best. It can only be the absolute love of the uncreated, living and manifested. This mantra allowed God to be born in this world because when we surrender, God can enter. And when God enters, it can shine in this world. And God's light through us is healing the world because the world is experiencing an incurable moment. The world does not want healing, does not accept healing, does not strive for healing, and whoever is here and wants healing suffers. So there was only one way of totally changing this story. But in order to change it, God could not interfere because it's our choice and it's sacred. Imagine, we are emanations of the absolute love of the uncreated. Would God come here to judge us, to condemn us? Never. So everything here is very sacred and needs to be respected. God could only enter here in this world through the absolute love that is the donation that we are making now. So whoever practices this mantra is receiving the greatest blessing of all ages, which is to receive the Creator Himself alive in his heart. And it is through us that God is acting and healing the world. The meditations are being undescribably beautiful. Whoever meditates with the mantra can feel God in everything, can feel the energy created by the love of the uncreated. It's what gives shape to all the things through the creative consciousness. God that emanated from the absolute love of uncreated. It's an infinite and eternal flow of life, of which we are part. It's a great honor to exist, whether as an illusion or as real. It's a great honor because in this way we can be aware that we exist and that we are somehow eternal in God. Even if the human personality dissolves, our eternity, our spiritual consciousness will become eternal again. And one day it will be absorbed by the cosmic consciousness, and one day it will rise. And God expands and creates universe through us and creates new children to colonize. It's a masterpiece. Everything is a masterpiece, and we are part of this eternal and infinite creation. All beings of light, Ganesha the Christ, Saint Michael Archangel, cosmic beings, they are a conscious part of this expansion of the uncreated through the Creator and through themselves as well. God uses children, beings, angels, archangels, all of them, to expand the uncreated through Him. This subject is indescribably beautiful. It's enlightening because if you think about it, you raise your thinking to the seventh dimension, which is the Christ consciousness. If you think even longer during the day, you merge into cosmic beings, you merge into God, you become coexistent in a very beautiful, very deep, and very sensitive way. You can feel God in everything. You can see the energy transforming into shapes and delighting in flavors, in aromas, in colors. What is light? Light are virtues. Light is information. Light shapes matter. Light gives information. Light gives virtues. It's so beautiful. It's all very beautiful and poetic. That's why I say that God is the greatest poet. It's the greatest maestro because it's also music, it's also art, it's also joy. Everything in front of us. We just need to pay attention. Just feel, start feeling with your heart. Start feeling with emotion the life. Just stop being victims. We just need to stop waiting for the external miracle to save us because we are the miracles. We are born out of the emptiness. And that is a miracle. It's the greatest miracle. Existence is the greatest of all miracles. Sai Baba says that even God does not fully understand the uncreated, and I'll end with this sentence: Namaste. Stay with God.